So I'm 1 minute late. Sue me. No, don't sue me. I don't want to be sued. Hey, all, everybody. Glad you could be here. Glad I could be here. If anybody's here, I don't even know if anybody's here. It is hot. Let me tell you something. It is hot. I'm going to check what the weather is here real quick. Woo, boy. Not only hot, it is tremendously humid. Let me see what we got going on. I'm running about a minute late. It says 90, but the humidity is way up there. Hello, Alex. Glad you could be here. Hey, everybody, come on in here, pile in, have a seat. Get into the comment section and tell me where you are. I'm sorry if I'm sweating, but it's hot, and I'm under these lights. I'm going to get a little baby wipe here, off-grid towelette. So I wasn't sure whether I was going to do a thing today. I'm glad I was able to do it. My wife is on her way here and is on the road, so y'all pray for her, and we'll see if she makes it home safely. But I decided at the last minute that I was going to go ahead and do this. We got enough power. I am back home. We got the Bunker Nation sign. I got lights. See, light computer locked up. All right, we're back. Hello, Scott from the Texas coast, to Alex from Eugene, Oregon. Tonight's your graduation night. Congratulations, Alex. What are you graduating from? What are you graduating to? But what are you graduating from? So we got a light right here shining on the banner. It's still like getting later in the summer, so there's a bunch of light coming in this window. We're going to block that. And then I got another light came in that's down here on the floor, and it's shining up there. And then I got this light that's really cool. Check this out. You like different colors? I like it blue. All right, so there's that. We have improvements. There's improvements happening all the time. And it's sweaty and hot. Well, y'all come in here and talk. Everybody type in a question, type in a comment, something you want to talk about, whatever you want to talk about. I got some stuff I want to talk about, but I'm always here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. High school. All right, you're going to Utah State. Utah State, they got pretty good football up there. Should be pretty good if they ever play football again. We'll see how that goes. But congratulations on your graduation from high school. All right, if anybody else is out there, let's sit and talk. This is not going to be a very long night. Looking like it. Looks like nobody's interested. Me and Alex and Scott hanging around, the only ones here. So I'm just kind of waiting just to see what kind of thing we're going to have going. Have you read The Kingdom of God is Within You by Tolstoy? Absolutely. I think it's good, but I'm not a real big. I like Tolstoy's anarchist views, but I'm a strict biblical Christian, and Tolstoy departed on a lot of things. So it would take me a while to actually go through it. Maybe I'll do that one of these days. Hello, Devon. Hello, Pat. So finally we got some people piling in here, but nobody's hit the like button. Hit the like button if you're out there. I'm going to do one of those banners. And I got to do some other thing. Where is it? Gently caress the like button. Then we're going to do this deal right here. There you go. Now the show is official. This is officially a show. All right, so glad you guys could be here. Pat says the audio and the video are great. Glad to hear that. We got one like. Amen. Likes are free. I know the material that's going to be going on is going to be really, really good, but you got to pre-like it. See, the last 5 minutes of yesterday's show were gold, just flat out gold. The rest of it was, silver. The last 5 minutes was gold. So you at least should put a like for that. Put a like up there and say, hey, this is for the last 5 minutes of the last show. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I was up in Lubbock, as you all may or may not know. uh, you had some stuff to do and was hoping something was going to get delivered up there that I was going to be able to help my dad with, but it didn't get delivered on time. So I may end up going back up there, but I don't know. My wife's coming in today. I'm very excited. She should be here maybe during the time of this show, but probably just after. I decided to go ahead and do a show because I didn't figure she'd get here till maybe 8:30 or 9. So, all right, everybody, glad to see you here. Some more people got to hit that like button because that's pretty disappointing right there. I'm doing it with my mouse, but you can't see it. It says two likes. There got to be more likes than that, man. You got to be invested. You got to be invested in this show. So I talked on the last show, and I got to pull up see if I can find it. I got a queue. If I can find it, I got a couple of them requests. I'm looking here. I can't go to like Bunker Nation because it'll start playing. Maybe it won't. All right. There was a question here about something I said because I was talking about how basically they were trying to tear down civilization, and I don't know. See, when I try to find something, I should just highlight the questions and then put them up there. I don't know. Sorry. I'm sorry whoever asked the question that they wanted me to answer. What is one way we can tell a lie from a politician or a leader? If their lips are moving. That's an old joke. That's an old joke. What we had, hello, Tracy Bunker Keeper, my sister. Glad to see you here. What we have here is a very difficult question. What do you know, Mike? Glad to see you. It's hot here, and there ain't no AC. So that's what I know. Okay, how can you tell if a politician or a leader is lying? Well, hello, Pahrump. We know you're not in Pahrump. We know you're in Long Beach with all the rest of the bottom dwelling scum dwellers. Okay, how do you know when a politician's lying? First of all, um, you don't know anything, and I don't know anything. We know generally what we're told. Trying to determine if a politician is lying, first of all, you'd have to have some general idea of what the truth is, and you have to have some general idea of the character of the person. I personally believe that people with high character don't seek those types of offices. Generally, the people who want to have power over other people don't have high character. So what they generally end up doing is they caress or they finesse the truth in order to fit into an agenda. You very rarely see a politician come out there and like share some huge fact or some huge element of something that's going on that's contrary to their own personal worldview and belief. They generally shape news. And so we'll just say someone's lying. They don't use that terminology very much. They shape information in order to fit a particular agenda, whatever side they're on. I'm not saying this is 100% the fact every time that nobody ever tells the truth. I feel like I can't think of many things more full of folly than sitting around trying to figure out if a politician is lying. I think you're safe just assuming that they are. I think that's probably the safest track, is just to assume that they are. Just like I tell everybody when it comes down to just about anything that's going on in the world, we don't have any firsthand knowledge in most cases. You know that the conspiracy theorists lie. You know that the government lies. You know that government agents lie. You know that lawyers lie. You know that spokesmen lie. You know that politicians lie. So for people going around badgering each other and arguing over politics, when in fact that neither one of them have any of the facts or know what they're really talking about in most cases. They're just going by whatever the bullhorns that are on their side of the fence have fed them. Most people receive their news like they receive oxygen. They absorb it and then they just spew it back out. If it's hot, why are you wearing a stocking cap? I'll tell you why. I don't have to tell you why. I'll show you. This is going to be like one of those things, like in the Creep Show or whatever that was, a Twilight Zone, one of those shows where the guy's like, "You want to see something real scary?" That's why I'm wearing a stocking cap. You don't want to see that. Nobody wants to come to YouTube. You had to like you had to like traverse your way. It was like going through the Siberia trying to get out of Russia, and you're going through there, and you had to traverse your way to YouTube. You don't just end up on YouTube. Nobody just ends up there. You have to traverse your way, and you get there, and you did all this hard work, and you click on something, and you see this. Nobody wants to see that. So what I do is I put this on there, and then it looks like something's going on. Like, what's that guy doing? What's going on under that stocking cap? No, it's very hot here, and there's a lot of work going on, and I didn't want to wear a baseball cap, so that's why I'm wearing this. You caress the like button. All right, 5 of you have caressed the like button. We need more of you to caress the like button, but I'll change that. You guys are probably getting tired of it. So the point of the thing is, somebody had asked a question. I wish I could remember what the question was, but I had mentioned it in Western civilization that there are moves afoot to hit the reset button. That's the terminology that's being used. A lot of people think I'm gonna categorize a few different types of people. Some people think that there's this huge organized conspiracy. Everybody has all the information and they're pulling strings like the Godfather puppet, and they've got this thing going on over here and this thing going on over here, and they're manipulating the world so that we end up with this new world Illuminati order. And while any of the individual things that are involved in that may be true, and it may be possible to shine a light on a particular activity of a particular group of people, and they are particularly looking for a particular agenda, the reality is nothing works that smoothly. Nobody works together, and most people are operating according to their own agenda. And so, at the same time, there's a strange confluence of events, always, in which people of the same spiritual makeup tend to move in the same direction and seek the same things. We have groups today that clearly have very just um, complaints. They have righteous complaints against America, against the way that people have been treated. I certainly have a huge problem with the way a lot of people are treated, especially by government and government agents. And so we have very real grievances. So that is a voice that's out there, and those grievances are very real and ought to be addressed, and people ought to be listening and learning. And then we have another group of people who don't care what the grievance is. They don't care what the problems were. They just want to burn it down and start with something else that they already have in mind. So there are groups of people who want to hit they call it hitting the reset button. There are other people who just like to see destruction, who just like to see the world burn. Don't particularly have an agenda. They're always going to be on the side of destruction. And then, as I mentioned in the last show, in the last 5 minutes, which was gold, by the way, and is worth a like, the last 5 minutes, you don't want to miss it. You got to go back and watch it. I particularly like Western civilization. I don't like everything that's happened under its banner. I don't like everything that's happened by any particular country. But I see and am able to identify uncontextual arguments that broad stroke evil and defame people that weren't involved in it, and in so doing, try to lay all of that burden on the entirety of Western civilization, which happens to have done a pretty good job, not only in feeding the world, but lifting almost all of the world out of what we would call the poverty of the Dark Ages. And so I happen to be a fan of Western civilization. I think there's things that we can do better. I think there's things that were done wrong that ought to be addressed. I think there are grievances that ought to be heard. But I don't think what we need to do is have a 50-story building and tear off the first floor, because that's what we have. We, we have a 50-story building and they want to blow up the first floor. Just take it completely out and have everything suspended on nothing. And so while I don't think there are this group calling this group and saying, you're going to say the word reset, you're going to keep pushing the idea of a reset. While we're over here, we're going to have Spike Lee out there talking about the entirety of Western civilization in America was completely founded on racism and genocide. There was nothing else going on. And then there's a third group over here that's educating the world on white privilege, not in any way contextualizing it, not in any way showing that there is no uh, manifest whiteness in which one particular shade of skin had nothing of a burdensome history, such that the English gentry who came over here and became the aristocrats and all that were the same as Irish, poor Irish slaves who sold themselves as apprentices or into debt slavery for 7 years just to earn their tools, and then moved out west where they started with nothing, not even tools, and lived in holes in the ground while they built up what became civilization. So there's an attempt to paint everybody under the same brush and say, oh, you see this shade of color right here? Everybody having that shade of color has done nothing more than rape and pillage the entire world. And rape, because they like rape. That's why you say it twice. And so all of these things are not, I'm not saying they're interconnected. I'm not saying that there's people that are like making calls. They're like, hey, did you say reset today? And then there's people over here going, hey, we need to be talking about racism and genocide. And there's people over here saying, hey, we got legitimate grievances. We got cops killing people, obviously murdering people, and that should be addressed. But the overall result of all of these things going on is that you have a mass education or re-education or propagandizing of the people who come to believe something that factually isn't true. And that if it happens, is going to bring about more murders and more deaths than in the history of the world in the shortest amount of time than anybody has ever seen. I highly recommend a book by a Spaniard named Jose Ortega y Gasset, written in 1933, where he said the same thing I'm saying. The exact same thing. In 1933, within 30 years, there was over 100 million dead because they didn't listen to him. And what he said is, I pretty much don't think that what we should do is just burn down all of the institutions and just let people with ideas like Hitler and Stalin take over and decide what we're going to do. Perhaps we can redress grievances. Perhaps we can work on the foundations a little bit, maybe build things up a little bit better than they've been. Perhaps we can increase fairness and I don't know, joviality. I'm just making up words at this point. But what we probably shouldn't do is blow out the first floor and give the keys to another Hitler and another Stalin and say, hey, you guys do it your way. You guys seem to have had a lot of success in the past. Let's try that. Let's just burn everything down and hit the reset button. Doesn't hitting the reset button sound a little bit cool? Because there's a lot to it. Hit the reset button. You could hit the reset button and get rid of debt. You can hit the reset button and you can say, okay, from now on, we're all going to get the same amount of monopoly money. Everybody's going to be starting from square one. And we're just going to hit the reset button. How long do you think that's going to work? This whole idea that there is some monolithic rule over the world by monstrous white people who are all the same. And if it's true, then why are we seeing what we're seeing? Why is most of Antifa and most of the violent protesters white? The fact is, there has never been a monolithic. Ah, my light went out again. That thing, we're gonna plow forward because we don't need technology. We live off grid. The idea that somehow white Europeans, all like-minded, all thinking the same, all just sat around and said, "You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go over there to this new land. We're just gonna rape and pillage." A lot of those people came over here, and their families all died. 90% of them died. They came over with nothing. They came over as slaves. Most of them sold themselves under a program where you could enslave yourself for 7 years, and upon finishing your contract, you might be gifted with the tools of the trade so you could start on your own. Some of them didn't even have that. I'm not trying to equate that with man stealing and unbiblical racism and slavery based on race. I'm not trying to equate those things. I'm just saying, and this is what's wrong, is you can't tell people a fact because then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's saying that's the same as slavery. That's not what we're talking about. It's not even the context. The context is all white people weren't the same. There's some of them that came over here that were rich, that had power, that were given grants by the king, who had land, who ended up being the moneyed interest, who are now the bankers and all that kind of stuff. And then we had people who came over here with nothing, whose their families all died. They were preachers. They were trying to help. There were people who went out there and had nothing, still had nothing, became day laborers, moved down to the south, didn't do very well there, moved out west, were scalped by Indians, Native Americans. All of those things happened, all of them. There were people that were rich, there were people that were poor, there were people in West Virginia who dug coal out of the ground their whole lives and died when they were 40. You're right, Devin. It's manipulation of emotions, but it's also a huge propaganda move that causes people to decontextualize everything and just operate without any historical knowledge of what the world is really like. And all I'm saying is perhaps it might be better that we move gently as we move the foundations, that we gently discover. You don't go in there and just blow out the whole first floor and go, yep, now we're fine. Now there's nothing supporting the building. Hello, hello, Paula. Hello, Devon. The reason for these riots, people groups pushing for revolution for those who infiltrate, gain the confidence of both sides. There's a lot of stuff there, man. You got to use some punctuation. There's again, there's no monolithic power or reason behind the riots. There are people who have agendas. Some people think, probably legitimately or honestly, that there is nothing else that they can do to get the attention of the world other than to watch it all burn, or to cause it to burn, or to break things and destroy things. There are people out there who want that to happen because they have a political agenda, and that agenda is communism. And the only way they can see it happening is a massive revolution, a massive turmoil, death, and destruction, and then they're going to rise from the ashes. There are people who are out there who honestly believe, and righteously so, that there are things that are wrong with the way that we deal with policing and the way that we deal with contact between uh, people and the authority figures who are vested with the power of the sword or the gun. There are things that happen that ought not to happen, and I've had some of them on a low scale happen to me, but I know that they happen, and you can watch them on video all the time. And if you say that, then you're dumb people who are nothing more than chickens pecking a dot will go, what about all the good cops? Of course there are good cops. please listen to what I'm saying and quit being a complete idiot. There are good people and there are bad people. There are good cops and there are bad cops. There are good protesters and there are bad protesters. There are good and bad. Stop being in a stupid camp. Stop thinking that you have to fall down in whatever political party, whatever they're saying, and whatever they're spoon feeding you for the day. Listen to somebody who has a different idea than you, and you might learn something. But the fact is, all of that aside, is that there are people who want to destroy Western civilization, regardless of how we characterize it. My position is that would be a very bad idea. It would. There are changes that could be made incrementally that may not make everybody happy, but they won't kill everybody. There are changes that could be made emotionally and immediately and massively that will kill everybody. All you have to do is open a book. I can recommend some. Start with Solzhenitsyn, Gulag Archipelago. Read the first volume. But there's a lot of other books you can read. How these things go down. Let me look. Oh. Lenin in Zurich. Great book. How did Lenin get out of Switzerland through Germany and get into Russia? Interesting. Powers that be got him there right when he was needed. There's a ton of cool books, but they hide stuff like that in books. Let's all take a deep breath. Let's get off the hate train. Start listening, and let's just say, hey, let's not destroy the thing that is supporting. There was a great video I saw. It was an African American girl. I think it was in Harlem or someplace, and she was lecturing these protesters who had destroyed their neighborhood. They destroyed the charging stations where the poor and the people who didn't have any money could go and charge their phones so they could try to find work. When you just burn indiscriminately, when you just destroy indiscriminately, you're not accomplishing what you think you're accomplishing. That's pretty much my point. All right, you guys have any questions or comments? Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. Anything you want to talk about, pretty much. I mean, there's some things I don't want to talk about. This is ridiculous. What I need is if I had a hair scrunchie. That's what I need is a hair scrunchie. The hair wasn't too bad yesterday, but it's been really hot today, and I've been working a lot because Danielle's coming home. I need to do a lot of dishes. A lot of dishes, and I didn't even get them all done. I'm going to run up there right after this show's over if I can. She's not here yet. Try to get some more dishes done. That's what I do. I try to help. I try to be helpful. Everybody hit the like button. We got 8 likes. That's sad. After what I just did, that whole speech, it may not have been gold, but it was like really, really, really purified silver. Everybody go hit the like button. If you're watching this on Facebook, just go over to YouTube after this is over. Look up Michael Bunker. Click on the like button and then subscribe. Just do one of these deals right here. Subscribe. We got all kinds of cool buttons, man. All right, so I got a question here. What's your favorite dog breed? Do you go to races? I would love to. They don't have any races near here. I would like to go. In fact, I was thinking about dog races today. I don't know where there are dog races. And maybe saying that you would like to go to dog races is not politically correct. My sister, who was on here just a minute ago, used to do fly ball, which is like a dog racing ball thing. Very cool. I never got to see it live, but it was very cool. I don't think she does it anymore. I think she's retired. But my favorite breed of dog, I would say, and I know it's kind of like a man-made breed, but there's a dog called an Old English Bulldog. can't have them out here because they're kind of a man-made monstrosity and they can't breathe very well. They don't like the heat, and we don't have air conditioning, so I probably would not have a dog suffer through that. I really like our little cross, pit bull cross, corgi cross thing that we've got, Rascal, but I don't like the fact that he just sheds 24/7, 365 days a year on everything. Um, I will tell you this in general. Everybody who knows me knows this, and you heard me say this 1,000 times. I'm not a favorites person. I really don't have favorites. I don't think that way. My mind doesn't categorize this and say I like glazed donuts more than chocolate glazed donuts. I like both of them equally. So my mind doesn't go, okay, if you could only have one desert island, one donut forever, glazed or chocolate, I would probably come up with an answer, but they're all the same. How do I deal with a man in my life who always wants to be right? Well, I need more information. I need to know why he's in your life. For example, is it a family member that you must have regular uh, conversations with? If it's somebody that you don't have to have regular conversations with and it's not important, they're not your boss or somebody else that you have to deal with very often, just let them be right. Nothing wrong with letting somebody be right. If it's somebody that you have to have regular concourse with and somebody that perhaps it's not something that you can just let go, then you have a conversation and you be very kind and very gentle. And you say, listen, I really like you. I really would like to have a good relationship, but that's impossible because you always have to be right. Now, what I want to say is the term who always wants to be right is what we would call a empty term because I know of nobody who wants to be wrong. So, Devin, I would say to you, do you always want to be right? Because you should. Now, there's a difference between wanting to be right and insisting that you are right when you're not right. And the question and the resolution of that is objective because you are either right or you are not right. And we use facts and we use data and we use things like that to determine who's right. To insist that you're right or that everybody agree that you're right when you perhaps aren't is boorish behavior. But at the same time, I don't know anybody who thinks that they are wrong. In other words, why, if you actually thought that you were wrong, then you would change your opinion to where you were right. That makes sense? So I know for a fact, because I believe you to be a reasonable person, Devin, that you always want to be right. Right. So what I would say is you need to be more precise when you're saying somebody wants to always be right. We all always want to be right. You need to say, um, how do I deal with a man in my life who insists that he's right even without any facts or data, insists that other people accept him as right or whatever it is. So then my answer will go back to the original, which is if it's somebody you don't have to deal with, then don't care. Don't care if they insist on being right. Who cares? If it's somebody you have to deal with and somebody that you want to have a relationship with, then you just sit and you talk with them. You tell them that's something that's become a barrier in you having a close personal relationship with them. And then perhaps say, hey, the next time this is happening, I'm just going to go, hey, Larry, this is one of those moments where you're insisting on being right when perhaps you aren't. And then you say, hey, let's pause for a minute and let's look at the data. Let's see what facts we can uncover. Or let's even see if it's that important. If it's not that important, then perhaps we can just move on. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Anything else you want to talk about? You could always go in there and smash the like button or subscribe or any of that kind of stuff. Glad to be here, although I'm tired and it is hot. Did I tell you it was hot? The main problem is the humidity. We had a lot of rain lately. Not a lot, reasonable amount of rain, and that's caused it to be humid. And I know there's people down there in Houston that are looking at me and they're going, you don't know humidity. You don't know heat. You don't get to say that from the air conditioner. So shut it. Do you have a good time with your friends last night? I did. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I got two really close friends that live in Lubbock, and we have been meeting together sporadically once or twice a year for many moons, many years. And so it's always good. We see eye to eye on a whole lot of things, and we always have a good time, and we laugh and joke, and it was wonderful. A storm hit just as we were kind of ending our conversation. We were out on this beautiful deck patio of this bar overlooking this lake, and it was wonderful. But we had to scurry because a storm hit. Do you think a real civil war is likely in the near term? I think it's absolutely likely. And the reason why is because there are objections on both sides that are not solvable. As I've said before, you can't unclimb some of these ropes. The idea that somehow you can classify entire groups of people merely by their race as villains, and you have politicians who are classifying entire groups of people. See, back before, we've always had vitriolic uh, politics. I mean, going back to the 20s, 10s, going back to Thomas Jefferson and Adams and Burr and Hamilton. We've always had ugly politics. However, if you actually go back and read a lot of those ugliness, it was very personal attacks on the person or leadership. Nobody was really stupid enough to attack the populace. To say fully 50% of the people were deplorable. Or to say, as I don't know, I don't know if he said it or not, but I was reported that Biden said that 15% of the people are not good people. Personally, I believe that's 100%. According to the scriptures, there are none good, no, not one. But at the same time, I'm not classifying them politically as not good people. And so we've moved, starting probably in the 90s, to where politicians particularly attack huge demographics. And that thing is not resolved generally peaceably. If we don't have the character to sit back, and Trump does this stuff too. Uh, as far as I know, I've not heard him attack the entire half of the country, but he does attack people groups and demographics. All of that needs to stop, no matter who's doing it. Because what happens is we paint ourselves into a corner. You can't really make peace with the people who believe that you should be dead. You can't really make peace with the people who believe that you are personally responsible for 400 years of raping and pillaging and murder and slavery, even if you were born poor and maintained poverty your whole life and have done nothing but try to help people. There's no peace really to be made with that. And so while I would like to see people tap the brakes and people come off of that type of language and usage, I don't think it's going to happen. And I think that because of that, there's very little possibility that any of this is resolved peacefully. We'll see. And I'm not prophesying anything, but I'm saying I'm almost always right. I'm almost always right. I don't think, and I don't know if it'll be now. I don't know if it'll be 10 years from now or 20 years from now. But if there aren't some people trying to walk back classifications of entire demographics as evil and trying to re-divide the populace after so much work has been done to try to break those divisions down, then we're going to have some form of internecine violence. All right. We're at 40 minutes, and I'm here for a few more minutes. If you guys have questions or comments, anything you want to talk about, what I say doesn't matter. I'm just here to try to be helpful, try to answer people's questions. and try to get people to smash the like button as much as possible. And I try to be honest when I say that I am being honest, but I try to be correct or helpful. I'm trying to turn these things off. Oh, it's past my bedtime. I had to drive in from Lubbock today, and I got a workout in at the gym before I came home, and got to work on the dishes and dishes. Oh, so many dishes. Oh, but I've been working on it, cleaning up, wiping down counters and whatnot, trying to make it look like I don't live like a heathen. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions or comments come up, so I figure everybody's probably bored with me. They already know everything I know, don't want to know anything else that I know. And so I'll give it like 60 more seconds. That's an escape route for me to get up there and do more dishes before my wife gets home. I pulled my thing off my head because now Mike mentioned it. It was making me self-conscious. I get self-conscious. You got to remember, I don't really have a mirror. I have a mirror, but I don't. It's like that big, and you can't see anything in it. And so I don't see what I look like until I actually click the go live button. When we want certain things in life and get angry when we don't get them, how do we cope with that? All prayers are answered. Sometimes the answer is no. Um, the way that you deal with it is you need to realize that God is sovereign, that all things pass through his hand. Nothing comes to pass that is not absolutely ordained of the Lord. And therefore, it not happening is good for you. It could be good for your character, it could be good for your patience, definitely could be good for your empathy. And not having things that we want is a way that God teaches us that we are not in charge. We are not the center of the world. We are not even all that important. There are people that are dying for what they believe. There are people that are dying just because they live in a place without civilization and they die. And so we live in pretty comfortable times, regardless of how bad 2020 has been. And it's a part of our growth to realize that God answers our prayers. He just sometimes says no. I'm sorry you didn't see the notification, Daniel. I was here at 7, man. I was at my post. It's 94, 95 degrees. I think it's 90, but the heat index is really hot. All right, y'all. I appreciate you being here. God bless you all for coming. Lord willing, I'll be back tomorrow. And if it's not tomorrow, it might be the next day or maybe never, because I'm not in charge and I don't get to decide those things. I just try to make my plans and the Lord directs my steps. Appreciate you all being here. Hit the like button, subscribe, and all that nonsense. And Lord willing, I'll see you soon. I love you all. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.